Yep.
And that has to do with gun violence,
Hmm.
America and the state. And how would you address that?
Um, that one is tricky. It has a lot of emotional uh, attachment for people, I guess. I personally don't have hunting stories, but I know that for people who do, just working with people at in more rural areas, my job takes me to places, and sometimes it plants me there for like 2 months at a time, where I'm meeting these people and sitting in the control room with them, watching things happen or not happen, as the case may be, and making me have to do some fixes. But um, while we're waiting for things to happen, they'll talk, and what they talk about is the things that they like to do, and a lot of guys like to hunt. Um, I I understand that, and I think that that's a enjoyable thing to do, going out in nature. And a lot of these guys are actually really enthusiastic about how much they love nature and how much they love um, to see all the animals and to hunker down, and that's a real. I definitely can see the appeal, right? Um, I think that we can preserve that, and there are people who they like to show off the skill that they have with a weapon, from 500 yards, or under difficult conditions, being able to hit a target with different guns that are easier to shoot, harder to shoot, with a scope, no scope, all that. Um, that's another thing that I can understand that people enjoy. When I went to Boy Scout camp, I took the riflery um, course that they had over the summer, and I actually got pretty good at shooting. Not really good. I just got better than I was when I first picked the gun up. Um, those things are all attractive. And then on the other end of things is people are not careful enough with their weapons. That's definitely true, because we see that a lot of the times that you get these attacks, it's because a kid took his parents' guns, or uncle bought a gun for a kid who shouldn't have had one, um, or maybe without their parents. And then there are certain kinds of guns that don't really fit the hunting, so you wouldn't really need to move them around. And that if you're going to do for sport, you really would only do it at the place that you're going to do the sport. And so from the hunting side of things, I think that we can say, rifles, shotguns, whatever it is that are good for hunting, um, we can start to look at the edges where the worst gun violence happens, and say, well, let's start chopping away at those. Go for the low hanging fruit. Go for the domestic violence um, people. Go for um, mentally unstable people. Um, count on the community to do some policing.
What What do you think about some of the weaponry, like maybe banning high capacity magazines or something, like the type of weapon, like these weapons that fire dozens of bullets in 3 seconds? And
Um, the well, so I don't see a use for high capacity magazines in hunting, and I don't see it in sport shooting. Um, my very limited understanding is that what you really want for sport shooting is to have one bullet, and you put it in the gun, and you don't have another piece of equipment on your gun that can break. Um, for hunting, you know, if you miss an animal, you're scaring it; it's running away. So you have a couple of shots. You're not going to need 50 tries before you would have a chance to do something to your gun. Um, so that, high capacity is something that I think we could look at. The the military style weapon, I think, is a tricky designation. From talking to people who are gun enthusiasts, it's to them, the Brady Bill seemed very haphazard. Like, this is a military weapon. This is not. This is an assault rifle. This is not. Um, I think that we could bring those people in to the conversation and say, look, we know that you can't have a grenade, you can't have a rocket launcher, you can't have a mortar. I think you can get those things if you go through an exhaustive process, because you think they're cool to have a World War II mortar or something, but it's not easy to do. Maybe we do that. Maybe we say, look, you can have these guns, but the process that you're going to have to go through is going to be much more difficult than the process it is to go to a Walmart today and get a shotgun.
Mhm.
And we can, for the more dangerous weapons, we can track them more. We can register them more. We can definitely make. I don't understand why people think that it's a problem to have to go through a background check to sell a gun to your neighbor, because you're not the FBI. You don't know what your neighbor might be into. That's why we have um, the check process, is so that
Mhm.
uh, they don't sell guns to people that the government already knows are dangerous people. And I don't understand why it would be a problem to say, well, here's a system. You call the phone number. You say, hey, I'm blah. I'm selling this to so and so, or I want to. Is that okay? And they say no, and then that's it. And most of the time they would say yes, because most people are good people, and it's really only just a couple people out there that are bad.
Mhm.